Wilson.
Man, I ain't trying to get involved with y'all.
You gonna get involved, I'm gonna knock your ass out too.
Man, sit down. Man, I'm on house arrest. I don't even supposed to be over here. Get a nigga locked up, man, come on.
The phone rang at 2 in the morning. Ice Cube fumbled for the receiver, his mind still foggy with sleep. On the other end, a studio executive delivered words that would shatter 2 decades of hope. They were killing it. The final Friday movie, the one fans had begged for since 1995, was officially dead. 20 years of negotiations, of waiting, of fighting for control over his own creation, all gone in a single phone call. But here's what nobody expected. That devastating moment wasn't the end of the story. In fact, the real secrets behind Friday go so much deeper than anyone imagined. What you're about to discover will fundamentally change how you see one of the most beloved comedies ever made. Behind the laughter that has entertained millions for 3 decades lies a story of anger, betrayal, heartbreak, and a struggle that would consume the better part of Ice Cube's career. From the dinner that saved the entire production to the improvised line that became a cultural phenomenon. From secret feuds that destroyed friendships to tragic deaths that haunt the franchise. These 28 secrets reveal a side of Friday nobody talks about. And by the time we reach Secret 22, you'll understand why this movie means so much more than just comedy. Secret 1. Friday was born from rage. Everyone assumes Friday began as a fun comedy idea. That couldn't be more wrong. Ice Cube wasn't inspired by joy when he conceived this film. He was furious. In the early 90s, Hollywood had decided what stories about Black Los Angeles neighborhoods were worth telling, and they all looked the same. Violence, gangs, death, despair. Movies like Boys and the Hood and Colors presented important narratives, but they painted only one picture of life in South Central. Ice Cube had even starred in Boys and the Hood, so he understood that reality intimately. But something bothered him deeply. Where were the stories about the good days? Where were the memories of friends hanging out on porches, talking trash, laughing until their sides hurt? He and DJ Pooh had grown up in South Central, and their childhoods weren't defined solely by struggle. There was joy. There was community. There were days when nothing dramatic happened, and that was perfectly fine. Hollywood had reduced their neighborhood to a war zone, ignoring the humanity that existed within it. So Friday wasn't conceived as entertainment. It was a mission statement, a middle finger to everyone who thought they understood what life in the hood really meant. Ice Cube wanted to prove you could live in South Central and still have a good day. That laughter existed in places the world only wanted to portray as tragic. The movie was an act of rebellion disguised as comedy. Secret 2. Ice Cube's own team thought he'd lost his mind. When Ice Cube announced his plans to make a comedy, the people closest to him questioned his sanity. This was the hardcore rapper from NWA, the artist behind politically charged albums like America's Most Wanted and Death Certificate. His music was raw, confrontational, and unapologetically angry. He'd built his reputation on being dangerous, on speaking truth to power without compromise. When he released the song "It Was a Good Day," people in his own camp asked why a hardcore rapper was talking about good days at all.
Pages and, looking at all the notes I had. I had a note in there one day. I was like...
Making a full comedy film seemed like career suicide. But Cube had a response that silenced the doubters. He told them he was a reality rapper, and reality includes good days too. He refused to be boxed into a single persona, no matter what people expected. This movie was his chance to prove he contained multitudes, that he could make people laugh just as powerfully as he made them think. The question was whether Hollywood would give him that opportunity. Secret 3. The credit card plan was completely real. Here's something that sounds absurd but was absolutely serious. Ice Cube and DJ Pooh were prepared to finance the entire movie using credit cards. They weren't joking around. They'd studied how Robert Townsend funded Hollywood Shuffle by maxing out multiple credit cards. They'd analyzed how Kevin Smith made Clerks for practically nothing using similar guerrilla tactics. Their plan was straightforward. Shoot in one location to minimize costs, keep the cast small, strip the budget down to bare essentials, They even seriously considered filming the entire movie in black and white, just like Clerks, to save money on film stock and lighting equipment. Can you imagine Friday without color? The entire aesthetic would be unrecognizable.
You tripping, man. Come on. Shut up.
Sit your skinny ass down. You want some Kool-Aid?
For weeks, this was their actual strategy. Two guys from South Central ready to bet everything on a comedy script that major studios would probably reject. They were calculating credit limits, planning shooting schedules, figuring out which friends owned cameras. Then New Line Cinema called, and everything changed. But the fact that they were willing to risk financial ruin shows how desperately they believed in this story. Secret 4. Nearly every character was based on real people. Most fans don't realize just how deeply personal this script was. Craig getting fired on his day off for supposedly stealing boxes? That happened to Ice Cube's actual cousin who worked as a delivery driver. Word for word, that's how the conversation went down. Smokey dealing weed and getting in over his head? Pulled directly from DJ Pooh's real experiences navigating neighborhood economics. Debo, the terrifying neighborhood bully who makes everyone's life miserable, was based on a real person they knew growing up. Craig's father, played brilliantly by John Witherspoon, was inspired by actual father figures in their community. Even the smaller characters had roots in reality.
I wish you was sleeping right now. I'll knock you upside your head with a left hook, make your ass wake up and take out that damn trash.
The persistent crackhead, the demanding Felicia, the threatening drug dealer Big Worm, all came from people Ice Cube and DJ Pooh had encountered. This wasn't fictional world building. It was their lives translated into comedy. Every joke, every interaction, every moment of tension emerged from something they'd actually witnessed or experienced. That's why the movie feels so authentic 3 decades later. Because it is authentic. The comedy came from truth, and truth resonates forever. Secret 5. DJ Pooh had his dream crushed. Imagine writing a character based entirely on your own life experiences. You craft every joke, every mannerism, every reaction, because you know exactly how this person would move and talk. You plan to play the role, because who could possibly understand it better? Then imagine being told you're not good enough. That's what happened to DJ Pooh. He'd always intended to play Smokey. The character was literally him. His stories, his personality, his experiences. Who else could bring that authenticity? New Line Cinema had one word for him. No, they didn't think Pooh had sufficient acting experience.
So what? I saw the tape. We kept rewinding it. Kind of looked like your head, but you can't really tell from the back.
They wanted a bigger name, someone with box office credibility. So Pooh had to step back and accept the much smaller role of Red instead. Think about how that must have felt, to have your own story taken away from you. But here's the remarkable part. Pooh could have become bitter. He could have sabotaged the production or walked away entirely. Instead, he stayed supportive because he wanted the movie to succeed more than he wanted personal glory. That kind of integrity made Friday possible. Secret 6. Chris Rock almost changed everything. Before Chris Tucker became Smokey, the list of potential actors was fascinating. Chris Rock was seriously considered for the role. Imagine his sardonic, intellectual comedy style bringing Smokey to life. The entire energy would be fundamentally different. Tommy Davidson was also in the running, and his physical comedy could have worked, but it would have created a completely different character. Ice Cube had seen someone else, though. A young comedian from Atlanta performing on Def Comedy Jam with wild, unpredictable energy.
For the last 2 years, I've been touring all over the country. I've been just having a great time. So I went back to my roots because I wanted to.
Street credibility mixed with genuine comedic talent. His name was Chris Tucker. Tucker had moved to Los Angeles in 1990 with nothing but dreams and determination, building a reputation on the comedy circuit for his manic energy and unique voice. Ice Cube was convinced this was their guy. He just had to prove it in the audition. That's when things went horribly wrong. Secret 7. The audition was a complete disaster. What happened next became legendary for all the wrong reasons. Chris Tucker's first audition was, according to the casting director, absolutely horrible. He'd just come off the road from performing stand-up shows and was completely exhausted. He hadn't properly prepared or studied the script. His performance was flat, unfocused, missing all the energy that would later make him famous. The timing was off. The character was nowhere to be found. Ice Cube watched his perfect choice fall apart before his eyes. Studio executives exchanged knowing glances. This wasn't working. Most actors would have been dismissed immediately.
Y'all ain't never got two things that match. Either y'all got Kool-Aid, no sugar, peanut butter, no jelly.
One chance, you blew it, goodbye. But something unusual happened that would alter cinema history. Director F. Gary Gray saw something others missed. Behind the exhaustion and poor preparation, there was raw talent waiting to emerge. He fought for Tucker, convincing the skeptical studio to give him another opportunity. But Tucker needed help. He was frustrated, scared, and completely unprepared. That's when an unlikely hero stepped in to save everything. Secret 8, a plate of spaghetti, saved the entire movie. Angela Means had just been cast as Felicia. She watched Chris Tucker struggling with the material and made a decision that would alter film history. She invited him to her house for dinner. Think about the courage that required. She was a new cast member herself, trying to secure her own place in the production. She had every reason to focus solely on her own performance, but she saw someone who needed help, and she reached out. According to Faison Love, who played Big Worm, Tucker was terrified during this period. He was worried that bigger stars like Dave Chappelle or D.L. Hewley would swoop in and steal the role he desperately wanted.
I guess he did. I did it. I don't know if he did it.
What did you sing?
Angela Means spent the entire evening working with him. They went through scenes together, helping him understand the rhythm of the dialogue, the soul of the character, the world they were creating. By the time dinner was finished, she later said Chris Tucker was Smokey. He returned for his second audition and absolutely destroyed it. The transformation was complete. He got the part, and one of the greatest comedic performances of the 90s was born over spaghetti in someone's kitchen because one actress cared enough to help. Secret 9. Tucker's most famous lines were completely improvised. When you watch Friday, you're watching a script, but also witnessing magic that wasn't written down. Chris Tucker was given freedom to improvise, and he ran with it brilliantly. Many of his most quotable moments were spontaneous reactions the camera happened to capture. The filmmakers recognized his genius and let him play. They'd film the scripted version, then let Tucker try variations. Some of his wildest improvisations made it into the final cut.
People that won Academy Awards. Friday, to me, is the Up in Smoke and the Animal House of black films.
Yeah.
Creating moments that feel alive and unpredictable decades later. This wasn't random improvisation, though. Tucker understood the character so deeply that his spontaneous choices always felt authentic to Smokey. That's the mark of true talent, the ability to stay in character while creating entirely new material in the moment. Secret 10, Bye Felicia, was born from real annoyance. The most iconic line in the movie, the one that spawned countless memes and became part of everyday language, came from Angela Means breaking the script. Here's what was supposed to happen. Felicia walks up to the porch, talks to Craig and Smokey, asks for something, gets rejected, and leaves. Simple scene, but Angela Means thought deeper about her character. Who was Felicia really? She decided Felicia would be someone who completely invades personal space, who doesn't understand boundaries. So without telling anyone her plan, she sat down right between Ice Cube and Chris Tucker.
Well, let me borrow a joint. You need to borrow a job with your broke ass. Always trying to smoke up somebody's shit.
On that porch, watch the scene again carefully. Tucker's reaction, that shocked and irritated expression, isn't acting. He was genuinely annoyed that she sat between them. That authentic moment of surprise made the scene legendary. Ice Cube's dismissive, "Bye Felicia," was the perfect response to Tucker's real frustration. The line that would echo through pop culture for decades came from a moment of genuine, unscripted irritation. Secret 11. Ice Cube stayed completely sober on set. Everyone assumes Ice Cube and Chris Tucker were actually smoking weed during filming. That's completely false. Despite playing characters who spend the entire movie getting high, Cube made a firm decision. He would stay completely sober during production. Why? Because this was his first movie as a producer. He had a tiny budget and only 20 days to shoot everything.
Man, that's fucked up, man. If it was y'all, I would have helped y'all.
What about the time he tried to choke me in Smoke's backyard?
Yeah.
There was zero room for error. He needed to be sharp, focused, ready to make critical decisions at any moment. Chris Tucker followed his lead. The professionalism on set was intense, even as they created comedy that looked effortless and spontaneous. Secret 12. The budget was insanely small. Less than $3 million to make an entire movie. 20 days to shoot everything. For context, most Hollywood comedies at that time cost $20 to $50 million to produce. Friday was made for a fraction of that, with a schedule that would terrify most filmmakers. Every decision had to be strategic.
Ain't like you got shit to do tomorrow. You don't have to go to work. Don't take a hit.
I got a drink.
Crazy.
Every shot had to count. There were no second chances, no reshoots, no room for expensive mistakes. Interestingly, the tight constraints actually made the movie better. It forced creativity. It demanded efficiency. It created an intensity that translates on screen even now. Secret 13. Two future stars made their debuts. Hidden in Friday are two actors who would become major stars, though you might not notice them at first. A 13-year-old Megan Good played one of the kids on the street. Years later, she'd become a leading actress in films and television. And in a quick, uncredited appearance during a flashback scene, you can spot Michael Clark Duncan as a craps player. This was years before he'd become famous for The Green Mile and other major films. The movie was a launching pad for talent in ways nobody predicted at the time. Secret 14. John Witherspoon was paid almost nothing. The late, great John Witherspoon, who gave us one of cinema's most memorable fathers, later revealed something shocking about the production. According to him, the main actors on Friday were each paid approximately $5,000. $5,000 for a movie that would gross over $27 million at the box office and become a cultural phenomenon worth hundreds of millions across its franchise. Witherspoon wasn't bitter about it. He understood it was a low-budget independent film, but it shows just how unlikely this success story really was. Nobody knew they were creating a classic. They were just trying to make a good movie with almost no money. Secret 15. The movie changed comedy forever. Before Friday, hood movies were serious. They were about tragedy, violence, struggle, and pain. Friday proved you could set a comedy in the same neighborhoods and tell authentic stories that were hilarious without being disrespectful. It opened doors for an entire generation of black comedies that followed. The Barbershop franchise, the Friday sequels, countless other films. They all owe a debt to what Ice Cube and this cast accomplished. The movie proved that every neighborhood has stories worth telling, and not all of them need to be tragic. Secret 16. The million-dollar mystery that shocked everyone. When Next Friday came out in 2000, fans were stunned. Smokey was gone. The dynamic duo was broken up. For years, nobody understood why Chris Tucker walked away from the role that made him a star. The mystery dominated conversations, and theories flew everywhere. The truth turned out to be more complicated than anyone imagined. Ice Cube's version of the story centered on money and religion. According to Cube, they offered Tucker somewhere between $10 to $12 million to return for the sequel. $12 million to reprise a character he'd already perfected. Tucker turned it down. Cube claimed it was because Tucker had become a devout Christian and no longer wanted to curse or smoke weed on camera. Two of Smokey's defining characteristics. But was that the whole story? Secret 17. Chris Tucker's side changed everything. When Tucker finally spoke publicly about his decision, he confirmed the religious aspect but added crucial context. He said Friday had become such a phenomenon that he felt uncomfortable representing and encouraging everyone to smoke weed. The cultural impact was bigger than he'd anticipated, and he didn't want that responsibility. But there was more. Tucker said he simply wasn't interested in doing sequels. He wanted to do great work on a film and then move on to something new and different. Staying in one character felt limiting to his growth as an actor. He believed leaving Smokey behind was good for his career because it pushed him to take on diverse roles and challenge himself. And the timing was perfect. He was about to become a global superstar. Secret 18. The Rush Hour Factor. John Witherspoon had his own theory about Tucker's departure, and it was brutally honest. Yes, Tucker had religious concerns about the weed smoking. Yes, he wanted to explore different roles. But there was another factor nobody wanted to say out loud. Chris Tucker was about to make $20 million per movie in the Rush Hour franchise. $20 million to star opposite Jackie Chan in action comedies that would make him an international superstar. Witherspoon joked that for that kind of money, he wouldn't have come back either. Can you really blame Tucker? The Friday sequels were offering $10 to $12 million. Rush Hour was offering $20 million plus a percentage of the profits. From a pure business perspective, the choice was obvious. But money and religion weren't the whole story. Secret 19. The hidden feud. Nobody talked about. There was something else most fans never figured out. There was a rift between Ice Cube and Chris Tucker after the first movie. Faison Love hinted at it in interviews. The tension was real, and it went beyond business decisions. At the heart of the conflict was a question that would poison their relationship. Who deserved credit for Friday's success? This wasn't just about ego. It was about artistic ownership, creative contribution, and respect. Secret 20. The opening of Next Friday revealed everything. The biggest clue to their feud was hidden in plain sight at the beginning of Next Friday. There's a line in the movie about people trying to take credit for writing the original script. Since Chris Tucker improvised so many of his most famous lines, many believe this was a direct shot at him from Ice Cube. It suggests there was a falling out over creative ownership. Think about it. Tucker's spontaneous genius helped make the movie a classic. His improvisation created some of its most memorable moments. But the script, the vision, and the world that was Ice Cube's creation. Who deserves credit when improvisation becomes iconic? It's a question that destroyed their friendship. Secret 21. Tucker had created many of Smokey's best moments. This is where the conflict gets genuinely complicated, because Tucker had a legitimate point. Yes, Ice Cube and DJ Pooh wrote the script, but Tucker transformed Smokey through his performance, his improvised lines, his physical comedy, his unique voice, and energy. These elements weren't in the original screenplay. Many of Smokey's reactions, his wild facial expressions, his spontaneous responses, all Tucker. So when Ice Cube claimed sole creative ownership, Tucker felt disrespected. And when Tucker seemed to imply he'd made the movie what it was, Cube felt his vision was being minimized. It wasn't just a business decision. It was the end of a creative partnership and a friendship. And then the tragedies began. Secret 22. The cast started dying too young. The success of Friday should have been pure celebration. Instead, it became haunted by tragedy. Bernie Mac, who played Pastor Clever in one of the film's funniest scenes, died in 2008 at just 50 years old from complications of sarcoidosis, an autoimmune disorder. Before his death, Mac had become a comedy legend. He'd starred in the original Kings of Comedy and his own beloved sitcom. His journey was incredible. He'd grown up with a tough childhood in Chicago and was inspired to become a comedian after watching his cancer-stricken mother laugh at Bill Cosby on TV. He vowed to make people laugh, so his mother would never have to cry again. He kept that promise until the very end. Secret 23. John Witherspoon's death broke hearts. In 2019, John Witherspoon passed away at age 77 from a heart attack. The loss devastated fans and the cast. Witherspoon wasn't just an actor. He was a comedy legend who'd started his career in the 60s, coming up alongside giants like Richard Pryor and David Letterman. He brought that lifetime of experience to every role. His character in Friday, the father who dispenses street wisdom while sitting on the toilet, became iconic. His timing, his delivery, his presence were irreplaceable. Ice Cube has said repeatedly that one of his biggest regrets is not getting to make one more Friday movie with Witherspoon. The chemistry between father and son in the original film was lightning in a bottle, and it can never be recreated. Secret 24. Tiny Lister's passing shocked everyone. Tommy, Tiny Lister Jr., who terrified the neighborhood as Debo, died in 2020 at age 62 from cardiovascular disease. Before acting, Lister was a college shot put champion and a professional wrestler known as Zeus, who famously feuded with Hulk Hogan. He was born blind in his right eye, which gave him his unique and intimidating look on screen. Ice Cube called him America's favorite bully and a good dude at heart. The man who played the most feared character in the movie was, in real life, one of the kindest. What many people don't know is that Lister almost didn't get the role. The casting directors were initially looking for someone even bigger and more physically imposing, but Lister brought something unexpected. He made Debo funny. The way he delivered lines turned what could have been a one-dimensional villain into a character people love to hate. Secret 25. A.J. Johnson's death revealed a hidden struggle. In 2021, Anthony A.J. Johnson, who played the hilariously clumsy thief Ezal, passed away at 55. His death was caused by multisystem organ failure after years of chronic alcohol use. A reminder that behind the laughter, many performers struggle with demons the audience never sees. Johnson was a stand-up comedian and actor who'd also appeared in House Party. Ice Cube expressed sadness that he was never able to bring Ezal back for one final movie. Johnson's performance was pure physical comedy genius. Every movement was intentional. Every line delivery was crafted. His loss was felt deeply by everyone who knew him. Secret 26. Angela Means' painful secret. Perhaps the most surprising untold story belongs to Angela Means, the actress who played Felicia. For her, the iconic Bye Felicia line became both a blessing and a curse. Means was a serious actress who created an intense backstory for her character. She imagined Felicia as a kind but troubled person misunderstood by her family and neighbors. She brought depth to what could have been a throwaway role. But as the Bye Felicia meme exploded in popular culture, something terrible happened. People began harassing her in public. She has emotionally recalled how strangers would yell insults at her on the street, calling her degrading names from the movie. The line that made her famous also brought her years of pain. She felt dismissed, disrespected, reduced to a punchline. The character she'd carefully crafted became a symbol for dismissing people, and by extension, she felt dismissed herself. Today, Means has found healing. She runs a successful vegan restaurant focusing on nourishment and wellness, working to reshape Felicia's legacy as a symbol of resilience, not just a meme. Secret 27. The 20-year war for the final movie. For 2 decades, fans begged for one more Friday movie, and for 2 decades, Ice Cube had to disappoint them. The project wasn't just delayed, it was held hostage. DJ Pooh revealed that a movie executive was blocking the franchise. Ice Cube was in a public battle with Warner Brothers over the rights to the very characters and world he'd created. The studio owned the rights. Cube felt they didn't understand the movies or respect the legacy. He refused to make a final film under their creative control and fought to get the rights back so he could do it his way. It was David versus Goliath, an artist fighting a corporation for ownership of his own creation. For 20 years, it seemed like a losing battle. Ice Cube would give interviews promising the movie was coming soon, only to have deals fall apart behind the scenes. Fans grew frustrated, wondering if they'd ever see Craig in the neighborhood one last time. That's when the phone rang at 2 in the morning. Secret 28. The miracle that just happened. Then, in 2024, everything changed. New leadership arrived at Warner Brothers, and suddenly there was movement. The new executives seemed to understand what the franchise meant to people and to culture. After more than 20 years of waiting, the news finally broke in 2025. A deal was officially closed. Ice Cube would write and star in the 4th and final film, officially titled Last Friday. And the news got even better. Faison Love confirmed that after decades of holding out, Chris Tucker is expected to return to the franchise. Smokey is finally coming back, but the reunion will be bittersweet. John Witherspoon, Tiny Lister, A.J. Johnson, and Bernie Mac can never be part of this final chapter. There will be empty chairs at the table. The final film will be a celebration of the characters we love and a tribute to the legends we've lost. The legacy that lives forever. What started as two friends from South Central wanting to show a different side of their neighborhood became a cultural phenomenon that defined a generation. Friday proved that comedy could come from anywhere, that laughter existed even in places the world only wanted to show as tragic. It launched careers, created legends, and gave us lines we still quote 30 years later. But behind the scenes were battles for respect, heartbreaking personal losses, feuds that tore friends apart, and a two-decade struggle to finish the story. The cast fought for recognition. They dealt with tragedy. Some found redemption, others carried pain. But through it all, the movie they made together remained a testament to what's possible when artists tell their own stories on their own terms. Each cast member's journey reminds us that success is complicated, that fame comes with a price, and that the bonds formed during those 20 days of shooting in 1995 would last a lifetime, for better and for worse. Now, after 30 years, we're finally getting that last chapter, one final good day. And when you watch Last Friday, remember you're not just watching a comedy sequel. You're watching the conclusion to a journey that started with anger, was built on improvisation and spaghetti dinners, survived feuds and tragedy, and ultimately proved that sometimes the most important stories are the ones the world says you can't tell. What secrets surprised you the most? Are you ready for Smokey's return? Did you know about the creative tensions between Ice Cube and Chris Tucker? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let us know which Friday movie is your favorite and what you hope to see in this final chapter.